We found one of the first glitches of the term. So I was expecting the geodatabases today on Tuesday, but I wrote down Thursday, so we have to go by that. So those of you who are done early, good for you. Because we're going to start the ParkMap, and I wanted you to have a whole week to do that. I'm waiting for this thing to turn on. It's not turning on. I'm going to pause a minute. So this week we're going to start, I'll wait while this loads up. This week we're going to start the digitizing a park map, and the goal of this is for you to have a portfolio quality product when you're done. Something that you've got, there are no underscores, your north arrow isn't giant, the symbols are capitalized, you know, all of the elements that we've talked about as far as map creation are working. And so I'm going to have you do one of the parks that are on the list, so even if you're not from around here, you'll be able to access the data you need streaming. It's a little harder if you don't know the area, but that's kind of what digitizing is about sometimes. You're doing it for places that you've not actually been. So the goal is to create a detailed map, and I want you to have at least a block around, or half a block around the park, so that it will have some context. And I'll show you what that looks like. You're going to create a geodatabase with feature classes and domains and subtypes, okay? And you're going to turn in your geodatabase, your MXD, and your PDF, okay? And then you're going to create that final map. I do not want you to use a streamed image for your background. I want everything to be something. So you have to digitize or create everything that's showing up on your map, okay? And so I'll give you some examples of that. So I go through the specifics. You're going to 2 domains to the geodatabase you created for week 2. I have no idea what that means. I think last year we might have done a little one ahead of time. So I'm going to have to fix this before you get to it. But you're going to have a geodatabase with, I could just can this right now, but why should everybody not enjoy this? You're going to have buildings that are coded. You're going to have a surface that's coded. So you're going to end up with a total of 6 domains in your geodatabase. And I'm going to have to scramble to figure out where that other one is and fix this. Once you get your geodatabase set up, then you're going to create feature classes within a feature data set. So you're going to have a ground polygon with cover types that'll be text. So that would be like asphalt, grass, bark-a-mulch, and then a field called use. Like, is it used as a playground? Is it used for gardening? Whatever. And you don't have to fill these in, but you have to have them as options. Then you're going to have a building feature class with fields called structure. So it's a text, whether it's a picnic ground, a meeting house, a restroom, and what kind of material. And that will be text. And then you're going to create a neighborhood feature data set with neighborhood building polygons, with fields, with building types, so whether it's a house or a business, and then a surface polygon with fields for the surface, with sidewalk or streets, okay? And then if it's a street, you're going to need to be able to label the road names. I'm going to give you the parcels, the Eugene parcels. They're in a zipped folder. And so that will help you kind of identify what are parks and what are housing parcels. And here are the choices of the parks that I want you to use. So after that really bad example, okay, so here is a list of background images you can use. You can use the Esri streamed imagery. But you can also go on to the USGS site and get ortho images. So sometimes those are clearer. And we also have 6-inch georeferenced images that are here in the lab that you can use. So there's lots of ways to find a background image. The Esri streamed images work pretty well. Okay. One of the things I noticed in the digitizing that people did last week, most people made sure that the buildings had square corners. Several of you did not. So make sure that you watch the video that talks about how do you get square corners, because everything should be square unless it's an obvious angle, but then it's pretty clear. Okay. So let's look at a couple examples. So these are a little bit washed out from scanning. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. So this is a ParkMap where the person did sidewalks, grass, streets. There was only one building in his park, which was a bathroom. He has a gravel area, and then you can see the lines that were the city lines for city lot lines. And then he did houses and driveways. Okay, so fairly detailed, all the little access points into the park and the park's curvy sidewalks. Here's another one. So he's got the name of the park. You can see that the sidewalks are a darker gray, the streets are a lighter gray, and then there's driveways and houses. And again, the park didn't have much to it. The park itself was pretty sparse. So if you can pick the amount of digitizing you want to do by the park list. You could look at them all and choose which one's going to work. And then he's got a nice layout here. So those are two examples, but you can see there's no air photo behind this. Which is really good, because sometimes your buildings, the air photos have a bit of an angle and your buildings don't. And so if you have the air photo under here in your buildings, then they don't look as correct as just trying to make sure everything has some kind of detail. When you do this, think about Price's ideas about planning it. What are you going to do first? You can use a lot of processes. So this light green, that could just be a background color and everything else is laying on top of that. I don't know, right? He might not have digitized that green area. That could just be base. Or he could have a giant polygon and he erased all the other features from that, like we did our clipping before. So there's a lot of smart ways to make this look right. Without having to digitize every tiny little piece. So you want to plan, but what you don't want is your sidewalk in this one to be on top of your grass, because if I'm trying to figure out how much grass I need, I'm going to get an incorrect amount, because the sidewalk is going to be, hide your grass by your sidewalk. So that would have to be an erase. So I would make a big grass polygon, then make my sidewalks, and then erase the two so that I have the exact areas. That makes sense? Kind of like we did the pond in the middle of the farm field, so that you don't have that. So I'm going to fix this direction and send and reload that. And so that's kind of the goal for next Tuesday. That park is due. Also on Thursday, we're going to look through this very short activity about, let me see if I can turn that on, projections. So we've had some people talk about how do you reproject data, what happens if you get data, a shapefile that doesn't have a projection. So we're going to go over that on Thursday, and that lab should not take you very long, but I think it'll be a really important one for you to have at some point. So that's the extent of this, and I'm going to really, really, really work hard to find out what the heck I really wanted you to do and fix that. Okay, done.